Also following this hour, a security breach by top officials in the Trump administration. A journalist, the editor-in-chief of The Atlantic, Jeffrey Goldberg, accidentally included in a group chat on Signal outlining pending airstrikes against Yemen, weapons, targets, even timings of the attack. On that message thread, the Vice President, J.D. Vance, Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth, National Security Advisor Michael Waltz, the Secretary of State, Marco Rubio, 18 people in all. The National Security Council confirming the breach, and this has ignited anger from Congress in both parties and beyond. Joining us tonight live to discuss retired four-star Army General and NBC military analyst Barry McCaffrey. General, thanks for being with us.
Good to be with you, George.
So top cabinet officials sharing this military strategy on the Signal app. Your reaction to that?
Well, it's a shocking level of incompetence, and placed our military flyers from both naval carriers out in the Gulf and also U.S. Air Force aircraft conducting combat operations against the Houthis. It placed their lives at risk. It's simply incredible. I think a lot of the rationale for this disregard of security regulations is they've decided they don't want their communications subject to the Official Records Act. Basically, you have to file all these electronic communications, and they didn't want to do that. I'd be unsurprised if they haven't been conducting all their business using this commercially encrypted signal system, which is not secure. We should assume that perhaps multiple foreign intelligence agencies have hacked this and been picking up everything they say.
And that's why it matters, because not just our allies, but our adversaries most certainly can have access to the Signals app. There are clear rules for the handling of this kind of information. What are those rules, if you could paraphrase for us, and what would be the consequences of not following them?
Well, certainly in particular for pending military operations, where you allow your adversary to read the details of the coming attack, it means that essentially they can hide from the attack coming, disperse their key leadership, camouflage their equipment, or they can take action against the U.S. before the attack is launched, go after the aircraft carrier. Go after Saudi oil facilities in retaliation. So the consequences are pretty darn severe. And, I find it hard to believe that they weren't told across the board by professionals. Everybody's got a major, Air Force major outside their office as their XO. I'm sure they were being told, look, these things can be hacked. The North Koreans have 8,000 people hacking international communications, mostly stealing crypto, but also penetrating U.S. Organizations. So it was incompetence, arrogance, a great danger to our national security.
In just the last hour or so, the Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth accepted zero responsibility for any of this happening, in fact, denying that war plans were leaked after the National Security Council confirmed it and said that it was investigating how the journalists got that. So what message is that sending to our military in terms of any kind of accountability?
I don't know. Joyce, the whole thing is some Byzantine fantasy world we've entered into. They appear to be lying on almost everything reflectively. But in this case, they're putting our flyers at risk. Their national security procedures involved in this to have a SCIF, a special compartmented facility where you discuss this kind of sensitive information. There's a separate network in the U.S. government, the SIPRNet, for classified activities. That was available. They didn't want to use it. And I'm confident the real reason was they didn't want to be held accountable under the Official Records Act. So I don't know what Congress is going to do about it. The Speaker of the House is blowing it off as just like a missing laptop.
What should happen? Hypothetically, what if you were still in the military and somehow you were on the Signal app and you were sharing this kind of information? What would happen to you? I mean, what will happen? What should happen?
Well, I think they're going to find somebody a low-level guy who set up the guy or gal that the thread in the first place, probably in the White House, and fire them. But in fact, again, all of them knew better. I mean, they were talking to the director of the CIA, the Secretary of Defense. All of them undoubtedly were told this is not a secure means of communication. You are putting out war plans in advance of an attack. You're placing our military people at risk. I think they'll just cover it up. And, thanks to Jeffrey Goldberg in the Atlantic magazine, we learned about this, because I think this was probably all their communications were going out in this manner.
Incredible. General Barry McCaffrey, we're out of time. We're going to have to leave it there. Thank you so much for joining us tonight. We appreciate you.
Good to be with you, Joyce.